All right. So let's talk about late payments, right? What section of the law, what section of the law speaks on your transactions and your experiences with a creditor? Can someone tell me what section of the law? Will you save this on YouTube? Yes. What section of the law speaks on transactions and experiences with the consumer and the person making the report? And guys, you know that a person defined under the FCRA is also a corporation, 1666B. So to some extent, all right, let's read what 1666B says. So let's go there. 15 USC 1666B. Let's read what 1666B. It says timing of payments. So let's read what B says. All right, B says grace period, right? So 1666B, and we're at A. So let's talk about A first before we go down to B. A creditor may not treat a payment on a credit card account under an open-end consumer credit plan as late for any purpose, right? So even though they say that, guys, it is not a period after the sentence. So this part of the law often get misinterpreted, right? Remember, there's a comma. It's not a period. There's a comma. It means there's more. They may not treat a payment as late unless the creditor has adopted reasonable procedures designed to ensure that each periodic statement, including the information required by Section 1637B of this title, is mailed or delivered to the consumer not later than 21 days before the payment day is due. So now this is where we do math. So if this section is saying, so if we're going to use this section, right, what are the things that we must consider if we're going to use 1666B? A, just drop it in the chat. What are some of the things that we must consider now if we're going to use this section of the law? What are the things we must consider? It says that a creditor may not treat a payment as late under an open-ended credit plan, right? Unless the creditor has adopted a reasonable procedure. So there must be a procedure designed to ensure that each statement, so each periodic statement, including the information required by 1637B. So the information under 1637B is crucial if we are going to use this section of the law. Was it 30 days? Right? So let's go there. 1637B. So let's go to 1637B. Right? A statement required with each billing cycle. The creditor of any account under an open-end consumer credit plan shall transmit to the obligor for each billing cycle. At the end of each, there is an outstanding balance in that account, or with respect with a finance charge is imposed, a statement setting forth each of the following items in the extent applicable. So now 1637 is going to give you a list of things, right? It's going to give you a list of about 11, 12, 12. All right, so from what I'm seeing, there's a list of things under 1637B that must be included. So this is why I want you guys to pay attention. 1666B can be used provided that it meets all the criteria of what the open-end consumer credit plan is and all the disclosures that you're supposed to get or what is required under Section 1637B is supposed to be mailed or delivered to the consumer not later than 21 days before the payment due date. So there's a few things there that we must consider, right? So let's take this late payment section apart. And guys, when I'm reading the law, this is how I go about dissecting it. So the first thing we learned that is what? They cannot treat a payment as late, right? So cannot treat a payment as late unless, right? Unless is there. So like I said before, it is not a period that came after unless, before unless. It's a comma. It means the sentence continues. All right. So it says they cannot treat a payment as late unless, okay, unless what? They have adopted reasonable procedure. So we need reasonable procedure. That's the first thing. Reasonable, reasonable, reasonable procedure. Reasonable procedure designed, right? DESIGNED, designed to do what? Ensure that each periodic statement, so each periodic, periodic statement includes information required by section 1637B. So though this is what we know so far. They cannot treat a payment as late. They have unless there's reasonable procedure designed to ensure that each periodic statement, including the information required by section 1637B of this title, is mailed. So that's the first thing. And there's or, right? So we need to know now what is required. So guys, put what is required under section 1637B. What is required, right? Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you very much. So the first thing we have to think about now, if we're going to use section 1666B, timing of payment, what are the requirements under 1666B? The first thing we know that they cannot treat a payment as late unless reasonable procedures designed to ensure each periodic statement. So each periodic statement is what I missed. I had a call. You missed a lot. We're still breaking it down though. You're good. You can catch the replay. So each periodic statement, right, must include and the requirements under 1637B. So go to your statements that you get. Go to your statements, and I want you to go now to section 1637B. So we're at 15 USC, section 1637B. So we now need to know what are the what is required under 1637B. What is required under 1637B? So let's go over to 1637B. So under 1637B now, what are we getting? It says statement required with each billing cycle. So whatever is being said here must be included. It must be included. Shout out to my guy, Dantel Antonio. What's going on, King? So under 1637B, in order for you to use this section for late payments, we must know what 1637B is saying. So 1637B now, because that's where I'm at. So for those of you guys that have another browser or another phone or whatever, you could go now to 15 USC 1637B. That's where I'm at right now. 1637B. So it's saying the creditor of any account under an open-end consumer credit plan shall transmit to the obligor for each billing cycle, at the end of which there is an outstanding balance in that account, or with respect to a finance charge is imposed, a statement setting forth each of the following items to the extent applicable, right? So number one says the the outstanding balance in the account at the beginning of the statement period. So they must give you, right, what the outstanding balance is in the account at the beginning of the statement period. If we're going to use 15 USC 1666B, guys, you must know how this works, right? So that's the first thing. So the second thing we need to know that's required under 1637B is the amount and date of each extension of credit during the period, and a brief identification on or accompanying the statement of each extension of credit in a form prescribed by the Bureau, sufficient to enable the obligor either to identify the transaction or to relate it to copies of sales vouchers or similar instruments previously furnished, except that a creditor's failure to disclose such information in accordance with this paragraph shall not be deemed a failure to comply with this part or this subchapter if A, the creditor maintains procedures personal reasonably adopted to procure and provide such information, and B, the creditor responds to and treats any inquiry for clarification or documentation as a billing error and an erroneously billed amount under section 1666 of this title, in lieu of complying with the requirements of the provisions sentenced in the case of any transaction which the creditor and seller are the same person as defined by the Bureau, and such person open and credit plan has fewer than 15,000 accounts or 15,000 accounts, the creditor may elect to provide only the amount and date of the extension of credit during that period and the seller's name and location where the transaction took place. A brief identification of the transaction has been previously furnished, and B, the creditor responds to and treats any inquiry for clarification or documentation as a billing error and an erroneously billed amount under section 1666 of this title. So guys, so if we're talking about section 1666B, you need to notice, like, there's no going around this part, because if you don't send out that, so a lot of you know, read this, right? And you're going to send out a late payment. You're going to say, oh, this account contains billing errors per on 1566B. A creditor may not treat a payment as late. Delete this late payment from my account. That's what most people are thinking. Well, that's a part of it, but there is more. See, if you're going to use section 1666B, you cannot use section 1666B without the required parts of 1637B, right? 1637B gives you the ammunition that you need